Greetings, all you gems out there. I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, and I'm finally here to record Steven Universe Future reviews. Now, I didn't end up doing this as the series was coming out, as it happened way too fast for my liking. But at the same time, I wasn't quite ready to say goodbye to the series. I had spent so long with the series. I still remember when I first saw the pilot episode. It didn't seem like it was going to be something that took the world by storm the way that it did. And with it becoming such a nice little chunk of my life, I wasn't ready to just binge watch the whole series and just be done with it. I wanted to take each episode as it came to me. So I just gave it time for me to just be ready to say goodbye to the series, ready to just move on from this series, basically. But in a way, I don't think I'll ever really move past this series. It'll still kind of just be there in the back of my mind as this great experience that I got to have with friends and loved ones as just something we could both enjoy and bond over. And I hope that ends up becoming something between you and me. Something we can just bond over as I experience the last few episodes of Steven Universe. As I experience Steven Universe Future. But enough prologue. Let's get into the actual first episode titled Steven Universe Future, Episode 1 Little Homeschool. Now, first off, I want to just say how much I love the new opening. While, the new song from the movie that's been adapted into the theme song is great, I do miss the whole We Are the Crystal Gems. Because that song made it feel like it's the Crystal Gems featuring Steven, but now it's more like Steven featuring the Crystal Gems. But it kind of makes me feel like, this is now less about the crystal gems discovering themselves with the help of Steven, and more like Steven now discovering himself. But I love the touches in the opening, seeing this nice group shot of all the characters that Steven has helped along the way, you know the preview of various villains that Steven will be fighting, quote unquote, as things go along. This nice little running shot of everyone just going along their way. It's just incredible to see, and the animation quality on this opening is so fantastic. It really just lives up to this feeling of finality, like, this is it. This is how far we've come, like they say in the opening. And it really just feels that way. It's just like you get to see all these friends Steven has made, just, being along for the ride with him, just following his lead. And that really is the standout. They're following Steven's lead in the development of Beach City and how it's grown and changed over time. It's just all so fascinating. And the opening. I'm not the biggest fan of the change to the, you know, a logo, but at the same time, again, it's just like this feeling of, yes, we've come a long way. A lot of things have changed and adapted. While certain things are still the same, certain things are different in so many incredible ways. And so let's start the episode review proper, actually review the episode instead of gushing over the intro, where we actually get to see that Steven has a whole process for uncorrupting corrupted gems, taking these vials that contain a little bit of the essence of each of the diamonds and then mixing in his own and taking corrupted gems, putting them in his bathtub, and then he proceeds to just kind of show them around Beach City and tell them the various changes that have happened to the greater universe at large since they've been sealed away, which really is something really incredible. Unfortunately, that kind of means that this gem we see here, Cherry Quartz, doesn't isn't really so much a character as a conduit to actually just going over the series as a whole. And Steven even kind of ends up droning on about his own life and how that's changed. Namely, Lars now having a bakery called Space Trees, which I love that title, honestly. That's so fun. How Sadie Killer and the Suspects are on tour, how Connie is now studying for college despite the fact that's still quite a ways away for her, but it wouldn't be Connie if she wasn't doing something like this. And we get to see the piece de resistance, Little Homeschool, where various gems get to just discover themselves for the most part. And I really love that. All of that work we got to see in the Steven Universe movie. We're getting to see the results of all that labor the various gems were putting in. And, who would have thought that the side of the barn would have changed this much? Now we get to see Bismuth with her blacksmithing. We get to see that Peridot is all about gardening, which, we're seeing just how far these characters have come. Again, it just harping on that, just how much has changed in all this time. We even get to see Yellow Pearl, doing her modeling thing, and Blue Pearl, being a very great artist, all things considered. And it's fun. Also, Vidalia just being an art teacher. Just little hints that we've seen throughout the series just kind of coalescing into this point at the end here, where we're just seeing them at their end state for the series. Just how much development and progression. I also love that we get to see uh you know Garnet teaching classes about just how to be basically just be yourself, I guess you could say. And Pearl teaching etiquette for being like a human, well, conversing with others on the phone and all that good stuff. And even Amethyst has her own class about just teaching people just to do what they want. With Onion there, just like, of course, he would be in on that class as well. But that's where Steven kind of leaves Sherry course, just to kind of discover herself for the most part. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows when it comes to Steven's life. He ends up, while everything feels so perfect, so great, there's still one regret that Steven has. And while Amethyst tells him that it's not something he needs to dwell on, he still does. And that's namely Jasper. He still feels that Jasper should, be with everybody. He's helped so many other corrupted gems just to kind of find themselves for the most part, whereas Jasper has done nothing but fight against all of that, creating this kind of, home away from Earth for the most part, her own little kindergarten for the most part, because she just loves the desolation, the lack of life on Earth around there, crushing anything that comes into her domain. And talks that Stephen has with her very much break down because she's all about the animosity, whereas Stephen is trying his best to just try to talk her out of this whole situation, to just get her to understand that, hey, look, I've helped everybody else find their place. Let me help you. I've helped them by uncorrupting them and this and that. Why not let me do this for you? And Jasper kind of takes that as a challenge, like, just because you helped me, just because you did this thing I didn't ask you for, doesn't mean I owe you anything. Doesn't mean that I have to serve you, because she's all about might making right. And if Stephen actually wanted her to listen, he would fight her. And because she feels that Stephen has never really just proven himself to her. It's always been through help with someone else, through a fusion, through this and that, through means that she does not find, does not qualify him in her eyes to be someone who she could follow to any degree. She feels that all the help that he's had makes him weak. So ultimately, all this taunting and degrading and just putting him down ultimately unleashes something within Stephen, that gem side of himself, his inner gem, I guess you could say, where he starts to fight against Jasper, and Jasper revels in this because it's what she wanted, a fight, something to actually help her, just help her in some small way, because this is all she really responds to. This is when she feels the most alive, when she's in combat. But Stephen doesn't take it that way. He doesn't want to hurt Jasper. He wants to help Jasper. But this ends up kind of being something that helps Jasper in a certain kind of way, because this is what she responds to. This is what makes her feel whole for the most part. And Stephen even comes to the decision that maybe he's not the one who has to help Jasper. Maybe it's Jasper who could possibly help him. And while Jasper doesn't seem too interested at first, she just kind of allows Stephen to come back to potentially help him figure things out with himself. With Stephen kind of realizing that maybe there's some things he still needs to learn. Maybe he hasn't gotten it all figured out like he feels like he did. Because we start this episode off with Steven just kind of going through the motions for the most part, because it seems like he's got everything just figured out. But we see that maybe he doesn't. Maybe there's still a lot of things that he still has less to learn. Things and ways he can still grow and develop as a person. And we cap things off with Cherry just asking him to sign off on her classes. But I really enjoyed this episode. It was a great start to things. We got to see how things have changed, grown, adapted. We've gotten to know where the status quo is and what we'll be focusing going forward. The development of Steven into the next phase of his life, I guess, where he will end up later down the line, and that's a greater understanding of himself. Because honestly, that's the thing about life. We're constantly refining ourselves. Nobody stays the same. Nobody just hits a certain point and that's it. There's always more to grow. There's always more that helps you develop later down the line. That's what makes us human. And that's what makes a person, be they not even a person. Um but yes, a really great opening, a really great start to this final series of Steven Universe that just shows us how far he's come and how far he still has left to go. But tell me your thoughts on this episode in the comment section below. Did you enjoy this episode? Did you not think it was that great of a way to start off the final series? Were you hoping things would go in a different direction at this point? And did Steven the Universe future end up living up to your expectations after this point? No spoilers, but just tell me how you felt towards the end of things, in comparison to how things started. And I'll see if I end up getting to that point as well as I continue my reviews of Steven Universe Future. But until next time, I want to thank you for joining me, and I hope you join me again for the next episode. Until then, bye bye.